Hello, this is David Itkin. In this short video, we're going to be talking about one of the places in the first movement of the Dvorak Cello Concerto that causes problems for some younger conductors, as discussed in the book Conducting Concerti. We're going to begin this passage 15 bars before rehearsal 4 in the first movement and continue until 7 bars before 4. The first of the three problems that sometimes comes up in this passage is following the solo cello part, following those 9 3-note phrases in 16th notes, and some conductors will get their ears a little turned around and are not following accurately the cello part. The second is not falling victim to what I refer to in the introduction to the book as the brain-hand schism, and we'll talk about that just in a moment. That can occur 12 bars before 4. And the third problem that sometimes comes up is knowing where, by which we mean when, to place the preparatory gesture which allows the winds to come in accurately in the 9th and 11th bars before rehearsal 4. First, let's talk about following the solo part 12 and 13 bars before 4. The 9 3-note phrases followed by a downward 5-note scale moving at a high velocity cause some conductors to lose track of the solo part and therefore to be insecure with their gestures that follow, which bring in the woodwinds. Different cellists will phrase and shape this passage differently, and that will give us a different impression of the passage. The wonderful cellist Carter Bray told me that he hears this passage not in the prevailing 4/4 meter, but he thinks of it while playing as 9 bars of 3/16 meter followed by that downward 5-note scale. This is a wonderful way to think about the passage and to give it a lovely shape, but conductors must never think about this passage as triplets or we risk losing track of the 4/4 meter. If we think about it in triplets, this is what we end up thinking. 7, 8, 9, and by this point, we are not in sync in our minds with the 4/4 meter. This is how we need to be thinking. Once we train our ear to think about this passage not as a series of triplets, but as part of the 4/4 meter, no matter what shape the cellist may give the passage, this passage is really not that challenging anymore. The second potential problem spot in this passage seems almost too simple to mention, but it's really not. While navigating the complicated solo passage that we just discussed, some young conductors will be so involved with that they will fail to give the passive bar marking gesture that's required 12 bars before 4. And if that happens, the winds can be insecure in their next entrance. And you heard the result. It looks to the winds when I give that gesture for them to play as though we are still in the preceding bar because I failed to give the passive bar marking gesture. Let's do it again and we'll do it correctly. It's so simple, but it makes the winds feel secure about where exactly we are in the piece. The third problem sometimes encountered in this passage involves where to place the preparatory gesture that allows the winds to play accurately in the 9th and 11th bars before 4. The preparatory gesture, of course, is actually on 1, a gesture of syncopation. So the real question is where to place the passive gesture that precedes that on the 4th beats of the preceding bars. If the soloist plays those 4th beats relatively in tempo, then that passive gesture can be lined up right with the solo part on the 4th beat, and that would look like this. However, if the soloist takes a considerable retard on the fourth beats of those bars, and the conductor still coordinates the passive gesture with the fourth beat, what we end up with is a long, meaningless, floating gesture, which really doesn't help the winds know where to breathe or what the following tempo looks like. That would look like this. A good orchestra will still respond accurately, but we've made their job a lot harder by making that choice. When the soloist makes a significant retard on the fourth beat, a better choice is to postpone that passive gesture into the fourth beat, perhaps about halfway into the fourth beat relative to where the soloist is playing, so that the passive gesture on the fourth beat actually not only is roughly in the correct tempo that follows, but most importantly, actually shows the winds where to breathe and doesn't make them guess where they should breathe to be in tempo for the next bar.